Alex's eyes fluttered open, the cold stone beneath him grounding him in the present. He had no way of knowing how long he'd been asleep. Down in these depths, time had no meaning. What mattered was that his wounds no longer burned, his body no longer screamed with every movement. With steady steps, he descended the spiralling staircase, each step echoing in the still air. The descent stretched endlessly, shadows clawing at the edges of his vision, until finally the steps levelled out into a small stone chamber. 3 doors stood before him, their purpose unknown. Alex picked one and pushed forward. The corridor opened into a vast cathedral-like chamber, its sheer emptiness unsettling. At the far end, 3 archways yawned like open maws. Instinct guiding him, he chose one and pressed on. Beyond lay a vast storeroom filled with shelves of jars, vials and powders. A heavy wooden table stood at the centre, covered in parchment, alchemical tools and half-mixed concoctions. A hooded figure worked feverishly over his experiments, the apothecary. At Alex's arrival, the man turned sharply, his gnarled hand already hurling a vial. Alex ducked, the glass shattered behind him, releasing a hissing vapour that burned his throat. He lunged, swinging his axe in a wide arc, but the apothecary was quicker, grabbing a pouch from his belt and tossing a handful of powder. A brilliant flash burst between them. Alex reeled, his vision briefly clouded. He shook off the daze in time to see another vial flying toward him. Instinct kicked in. He sidestepped just as the liquid inside burst into flames. The apothecary grinned, reaching for another vial. Alex wasn't falling for the same tricks twice. He rushed, his axe slashing forward. The alchemist barely dodged, rolling aside, his fingers fumbling for another weaponized concoction. But Alex pressed harder, swinging relentlessly, forcing his opponent on the defensive. The apothecary, desperation flashing in his eyes, yanked the cork from a large bottle and flung its contents. A caustic green mist spewed into the air. Alex twisted away, but the edges of the vapour singed his arm, leaving an angry burn. Closing in, Alex struck low. The apothecary dodged, but the blade caught the edge of his robe, sending him off balance. He scrambled to recover, reaching for another vial. Alex grabbed him first. With a brutal shove, he slammed the alchemist against the heavy table. The axe came down swiftly and centred. Silence. Alex scanned the wreckage. Shattered bottles oozed their strange liquids onto the floor, filling the room with a pungent chemical stench. Most of the vials were ruined, their contents wasted. But tucked away on a lower shelf, 3 intact bottles caught his eye. Finally something useful. He tucked them into his pouch, casting one last glance at the apothecary's still form before gripping his axe and stepping toward the next unknown.